All right, so this is the original long box for the PS1, and my copy is actually signed by Charlie Kraslovsky, who is the original Chris Redfield in the live-action cutscenes. He signed it while we were working on The Keeper's Diary, and I have this completed here with the disc and the manual. What I always liked about these long box copies is they always had artwork on the back of them. Not all the time, but sometimes they did, and yeah, it was just pretty cool to see like the different shots of the mansion, the laboratory on the back. They would condense that down and put it in the smaller strategy guide in the slim case version, which is also a release for this that I have up on the shelf. And this is one of my original PS1 consoles. It still runs and works to this day. I'll pop that in there. And this is a little bit of the manual. It just has, you know, some how to play stuff, talking about, you know, the health conditions, the item box, the weapons, character bios, and stuff like that. I also have Pablo Kuntz, who signed my manual, who was the voice actor of Wesker in the game. I know I'm showing off all my autographs, but that just makes this copy that much more special. So let's pop it in and give it a spin. All right, so this is the original Resident Evil, released in 1996. 29 years ago this month in the US. And we're playing it on the original PlayStation with my original PS1. We have the original controller here. I do have the long box version, as you saw in the beginning of the video. And we're just going to take a trip down memory lane for a little bit here. Click the new game, Resident Evil, the classic calling card. Doesn't get much better than this. Obviously, you have the choice between Chris and Jill. When I was a kid, I would always pick Jill. It was the easier mode at the time. I wasn't ready for Chris until a few years later when you kind of get used to the game. Now we have the classic intro, which I think for many was really the first real introduction to this game, besides just the, you know, opening little screen that we just had. Yeah, the Raccoon Forest, July 1998. You know, this being in black and white, you know, is kind of our censored version over here in the States. And I do really still enjoy this. You know, there's something about it, even though I do like the uncensored version and the color cutscene and the gore included. I do really like the vibe of this and the way that it's presented to us. You know, the fact that it's in black and white reminds me of Night of the Living Dead in many ways. And that's what makes some of this stuff, you know, stand out, is the simplicity of it. But it was still very terrifying because you're, you know, even though it is cheesy and there's corny lines and stuff like that, you know, seeing this as a younger kid, you're like, holy shit, you know, what am I getting myself into? And, you know, you realize years later, like, okay, how it could have been, right? But at the time, the live action cutscenes, like, that's what it was. You know, we didn't have the CGI cutscenes that we would get later. I always thought that Joseph was just like, when he found the hand, that I never knew that it was like a severed hand from a body, because it always cuts it off right here on the bottom. So I was always like, oh, is it just somebody holding a gun? Like, you know, you don't put two and two together. So we don't get the ripping and tearing of Joseph, but again, still very effective in many ways. And again, the way I would be playing a lot of these games was on a 12-inch CRT like this. And that's probably why my vision is horrible today. But you know, we had a bigger TV in the TV room that we had in our old house that was bigger in size, and I would definitely play on that anytime I had the chance. But in my room, it was a TV just like this. Now, this isn't the same CRT that I had, because unfortunately that one would no longer work when you would plug in the component cables, or the composite cables, rather.
Chris Redfield.
This is the classic intro with the characters. We don't get the cigarette light, but it's still badass.
Barry Burton. Rebecca Chambers. Albert Wesker. Resident Evil.
Classic, classic. 29 years later, it still amazes me how many people play this game, how many people discover it for the first time.
What is this?
And then we get into, you know, the dialogue of the game, which, you know, is obviously a very, you know, different vibe than most people expect when they jump into this game, and they might, you know, hear how iconic it is. But I think that's kind of part of it, you know, part of the dialogue in that B-movie cheese is part of what makes this game, you know, stand out even from 2 and 3. Kind of not knowing what they had, and, you know, like, it really did have that first time quality to it, even with the voice acting. But it still adds to that charm of, like, you know, kind of not knowing, you know, really what success this game was going to have, not only on just a whole genre, but just in general, spawning a franchise 29 years later, and then you would have a lot of these iconic voice actors come into the franchise.
A dining room.
But again, I still love what this game offers, you know, even though it's very early in that. Here's our simple menu system. Again, we don't have any analog sticks or anything, so this is just as is. This isn't director's cut. This is the original 1996 release.
What is it?
Was put out in the long box, and then also the slim case version as well. And this version would also be ported on Sega Saturn with the extra battle game, which was very fun. And I do own that version as well. And then we obviously got the director's cut later, but this version as a whole only existed on PS1, PC, and Sega Saturn. And then, of course, we had Deadly Silence later on, which was kind of like a hybrid of the original and director's cut with the rebirth mode. So you got this game on technically, you know, different consoles throughout the years, but at this time it was only on PS1 first, then it came to Saturn and PC. And the Saturn mode was the only one that had that battle game. The PC version did not, but the PC version had the uncut cutscenes, as well as a severed head, which is not actually shown in this classic head turn right here. This is one of the first iconic images that I remember from this game. And there you go. The classic zombie head turn. No severed head. Kenneth's head was finally released in the DS version in 2006. We finally got that severed head, because unfortunately they didn't even put it in director's cut.
Barry?
Now it's time for Barry to come to the rescue.
What is it?
Watch out! It's a monster!
Let me take care of this.
Hell yeah. Colt Python to the rescue. What is it?
Kenneth was killed too.
It's Barry's
Maybe
like
by
favorite
this
line.
creature.
What is it?
report this to Wesker.
And Wesker is not going to be there. But this game always had a great vibe, you know, and just obviously the original trilogy, but even the first game being what it is,
Wesker!
it still has a certain vibe that is
Help me look
different
for
than
it,
2
Jill.
and 3.
And don't leave this hall for the time being.
You know, and obviously things would get more advanced, things would get more, you know, there'd be more enemies, more weapons, it would get more involved. But there's something with the simplicity of this game that I actually really enjoy.
Find anything, Jill?
Nothing. What is this all about? I can't figure it out at all.
Beats me, too.
Now it's Wesker's time to disappear. I don't know what's going on.
Well, it can't be helped. Let's search for him separately. I'll check the dining room again.
Okay, I'll try the door on the opposite side.
This mansion is gigantic. We could get into trouble if we get lost. We should start from the first floor, okay? And Jill.
Another
here's a
iconic
lockpick.
line.
It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
Master of unlocking. Hell yeah. That's the
Thanks.
advantage to Jill's
Maybe I'll
playthrough is you
need
don't
it.
need the small keys, you can just use the lockpick.
Listen, if something happens, let's meet up in this hall. This time I'll be there.
This time I'll be there. He does hold to his word, though. Yeah, there's something cool about, you know, playing these games. I did a Resident Evil 4 GameCube video that's similar to this. But, yeah, I definitely like playing these on their original intended consoles and TVs, you know? There's something really cool about it that brings me right back to that nostalgia feeling from the late 90s, early 2000s, you know? And here we go. We have the classic dog break scene right here. Scared the shit out of most people. Nowadays, we all know when it's coming. But back then, no. That was a surprise. I'm gonna go around here, and we might as well go into the Jill sandwich room so we can get the classic line. Grabbing the shotgun here and not using the broken shotgun gives you the cutscene that everybody knows where this iconic line comes from. It's crazy how many iconic lines came from just not only the first game, but just the original trilogy alone. But the first game kind of stands out because of how just hilarious some of them are. And, you know, little did they know, right? They had no idea. They were just trying to make a horror game and have that American, you know, horror kind of spin on everything, you know? The Japanese definitely rely on a lot of, you know, different sources of horror, right? And they like, you know, they take from their own horror, but for this, they were looking at a lot of American horror movies, and
Hey, what's
here we
going
are.
on?
And now 29 years later,
Jill? Is that you, Jill? What happened?
we have like 20-something games in the franchise.
Help me, please. The door won't open. Quick!
Stay away from the door, Jill. I'm gonna kick this door down.
Hell yeah, Barry to the fucking rescue.
This way!
Even though he said he was going to be on the other side of the mansion. And here it is.
Oh, Barry!
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
You're right.
Barry, thanks for saving my life. But Barry, didn't you say you're going back to the dining room to do some research? Why on earth are you here?
I just had something I wanted to check. Now, let's get back to searching for the lost captain and Chris, shall we?
Thank you, Barry.
Yeah. I always love that. Yeah. Can't actually use the shotgun for the headshot action. It's the best part about the shotgun. The headshot. Perfect. You hear the PS1 load time. I don't know if you can pick it up through the mic, but yeah, you can hear the PS1 loading as you go through each camera angle and door time. Yeah, the director's cut, I understand why a lot of people like that version. It is also what exposed a lot of people to the first game as well. But for me, I always loved the original. I like advanced mode / arranged mode. I like that. I do like the different camera angles and such, but there is something about this that I just liked, you know. And I think one of the first ones that I remember seeing was, in fact, the director's cut DualShock version. But my dad owned this one, and I remember I was always like, "Man, what's the difference?" You know. And I was always, you know, kind of curious as to what those changes were. And as I got older and I gained more knowledge of, you know, why it was re-released and the delay of Resident Evil 2 and, you know, it's kind of holding people over and stuff like that, then you realize, oh, because I remember Jill's costume would always change when I would turn on Director's Cut. I was like, why is that her costume? Or this original version, it's her original S.T.A.R.S outfit. So it's another kind of thing that was just kind of part of, you know, all the different versions that we would get released back when we would get different ports, and different ports would have different, you know, features and exclusive stuff to them that you wouldn't see anywhere else, you know? Oh, he got me. Just that bite alone put me in orange caution. Just to show you how difficult some of this shit is.
Barry!
Jill, what's going on? Any clues?
No, but something's wrong with this house.
Whoa. This hall is dangerous.
This hall is dangerous.
Maybe it's better to secure our escape route first. There must be a back door somewhere. Let's try to find it first, shall we?
Okay, let's separate again.
Just a moment. I found something.
What is it?
It's a weapon. It's really powerful, especially against living things. Better take it with you.
But how about you, Barry?
I have this.
Thank you. I'll take this then.
It's really powerful, especially against living things. Well, what else would you use it for, Barry? I always love the waves. All right, so that's just a little, you know, fun little cozy nostalgic video that I thought would be cool to show off. You know, I always have these consoles around. I like streaming on original hardware. I like, you know, playing it on the original hardware. And again, just so many hours and countless memories on this game. And let me know, what are some of your favorite memories with this original version of the game? Or do you have a lot of nostalgia with the DualShock or DualShock Director's Cut? You know, there's a lot of cool different, ways to play this nowadays, but it is always cool to kind of go back to something like this, and to do a little video on it, kind of highlighting how I used to play it as a kid, So, yeah. So that's it for this little video. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe, and take care, and we'll see you all in the next LTRE video. Peace.